Okay, ladies and gentlemen, clowns to the left of us? Absolutely not. Jokers to the right? Most definitely. But here we are, talking movies with you. So, put on some Steelers wheel and join us as we talk Reservoir Dogs. Now, the fun thing about that is, it's another guest episode.
Well, yeah, I'm excited.
Which means somebody picked Reservoir Dogs for us.
And it wasn't me. Was it you?
It wasn't me.
It was our guest.
It was our guest. And we've known this guest for a pretty long time. You've known her longer than I have.
I could say my whole life.
Your whole life.
Her whole life.
And I've known her for nearly as long as you. Maybe a year less.
Right.
So
Pretty close.
Couple months.
why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name's Gena. I am Randy's sister. I'm a new sister also. Sister from another mister, that's all.
Yep,
so
That's it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it so much.
We're so excited. It just lined up because actually you live out of state.
I
So
do.
it just so happened that we're just getting this podcast going and you're in town right now. So it just makes sense to have you on and we are thrilled.
Right, absolutely. It was who better not than one of our favorite people in the whole wide world
Oh, absolutely.
as our guest.
So happy to have you here. Thank you so much.
And you picked a favorite movie of all of ours.
Yeah,
Thank you.
What movie did you pick?
I picked Reservoir Dogs
Hell
to
yeah.
bring to the podcast
So
today.
excited.
So
All
thank you
right.
guys so much again for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Real quick, at the top of the episode here, I have a little something for both of you for having me.
Oh my God.
So I just
This
wanted
is
to
too
say
much.
thank you so much.
See, usually I'm the one giving gifts.
That's true.
I'll do it both
But
at the
our
same
first-
time. But,
Oh my goodness!
I got you each this.
Oh my God.
This is
I
so
hope you guys
cool.
don't have it.
Since it's not video-wise,
True.
Gina gave us the Quentin Tarantino Cinema Speculation book, which I don't have it.
I don't have this either.
So I'm super
Gene, I had no idea. Thank you
super
so
excited
much.
to dig into this.
Oh my
Good.
God.
I'm so glad. And
I'm
thank
so
you guys
excited
again
to
for
read.
having me. I appreciate it.
So Reservoir
Such a
Dogs,
sharp-looking book.
Miramax, 1992. This is Quentin Tarantino's first directed film.
Yeah.
Why'd you choose this film, Gina?
I love it. I love this movie. I love Tarantino. I know he can be controversial. I love Tarantino. I remember the first time watching this movie. We were actually just talking about it last night and just talking about having like the same memory of watching the movie, but not really realizing it was the same time.
You know, we were keeping it fresh, okay? Because
Yeah,
we
we
wanted to
didn't
keep
wanna
it fresh for the
talk too
podcast.
much.
But in just talking about it a little bit,
Yeah.
I realized, I thought I watched this movie for the first time by myself. But actually,
did I.
She might have watched it with me.
That's
so,
Come to find out, we're pretty sure we were both in the room
I'm
together.
pretty sure.
We were so captivated by the movie, we
Right.
didn't know.
there was just a
So
screen in
tell
front
me
of
about
us.
it. When was the first time you saw this movie? Because I saw it much later than 1992. I think I saw it.
Oh, it was later than 92.
Later than 92.
I
If
think I saw it in 2000.
I wouldn't say I probably saw this. It was either 98 or 99, I want to
Yes,
say.
that
it
lines
was
up.
pre-middle school for
It's
me,
crazy. Yeah, because it would have been 98, 99.
which is wild to think
And
that. I was
I-
thinking that when sorry.
I watched it on the same night that I watched Silence of the Lambs for the very first time.
Okay.
And so I don't
Could you
know.
imagine?
Do you remember
I don't
watching
remember
that?
What a
watching
double
them-
feat!
I'm saying. I don't remember watching Silence of the Lambs after it, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I
So
that's
I
why-
don't remember if it was the same night or not.
But still, you were just captivated. Like
Oh
from
my
the very
gosh.
first viewing, you were in.
100%. Like being however old I was, 12 years old, however old.
Yeah.
And just from the diner scene to the very end to Pink, spoiler alert, to Pink scurrying off with the diamonds. Like, it's just start to finish, I was hooked.
Dude, what a scene. I mean, just for a way to open up a movie. And I know, like, for talkers, for just dialogue, it's really hard to just grab somebody by the throat when you've just got people
yeah.
talking. There's no action sequences. There's, really nothing going on other than
Which
talking.
is hilarious. Like, who makes a heist movie without showing the heist?
Right. But that's just one of the coolest scenes to me ever in a movie is that opening diner scene. And a little fun fact about that is that he wrote that afterwards. Like,
Yeah.
that wasn't in the original screenplay. It's because Eddie Bunker didn't have really any talking lines. Like, so he added that in after the fact for Eddie Bunker, Mr. Blue.
Right.
Which I think is pretty cool, right? Because
Yeah.
it ended up being an afterthought, but it ended up being one of the coolest scenes in the whole movie.
Interesting.
Before we get really going in, what are you guys drinking?
All right, well, I am
first.
actually drinking a Pipeworks Brewing Lizard King, which is a pale ale. It's one of my favorites. Top 5 beers, I think.
Okay.
Wow.
And since I am in the great state of PA, I brought some Yingling here, so I am drinking a Yingling.
refreshing beer, and also the oldest brewery in the United States.
In the United States, absolutely.
That's fun. What are you drinking?
Uncle Dew's on the wagon right now, so I'm doing my good old standard Liquid Death
Right on.
sparkling water.
Some spicy
All right.
water.
And
Yep.
a 1 and a 2 and a 1, 2, 3.
Oh yeah.
Actually, that's a hell of a segue. Speaking of that diner scene, though, because I think it's funny. I had to, listen as I'm watching it this past time because Joe does say, I paid for your damn breakfast, so we know for sure that it is breakfast. But I know for sure, nice guy Eddie is drinking a beer.
Right.
I think there's a few other beers around the table.
Right.
They're just drinking beer for
Hey, man.
breakfast.
I don't mind a beer for the breakfast every once in a while.
No,
absolutely not.
Little hair of the dog that bit you.
Absolutely. And nice guy Eddie, he needed that.
He did.
Joe,
He absolutely
said,
did.
we're just gonna get straight into it. Like, you're exactly right. The first that scene, which, like you said, wasn't in the movie, to introduce us to who all of these characters were and how strange and unusual this trip that we were going to take with them. I think this is where I immediately fell in love with Joe. Not quite full blown with Harvey Keitel yet,
Yeah.
but he was getting there. And then this is my first interaction of Steve Buscemi.
Was this your first Steve Buscemi movie? Was it mine?
No, we had seen Desperado.
Oh,
before.
Desperado came first. Absolutely, it did. Yes.
And now I'm trying to think if there was what was there between Desperado and
Because I remember, he was a well-known name to us as kids.
yeah. And also, I think all three of us kind of just gravitate towards those B-movie actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just those
That make the movies.
Yeah, like Willem Dafoe has made a huge name for himself. Now,
Oh,
for a
yeah.
while there, he was just kind of one of those, and
Right.
I was always like, "Damn, I love Willem Dafoe."
Well, and I thought about it because I was like, let me tell you about how I got into the films. Not to put the
No, please
No,
do.
please.
not to take up the old time here, but so I got into a Miramax hole, right? I had Kevin Smith.
I was just
Hell
going to
yeah.
ask, did it have something to do with
I
Kevin Smith?
was having a
swear.
Kevin Smith watch party, and you know that on any sort of VHS, like for those kids listening to right now, VHS is a large plastic reel to reel. A reel is a piece of acetate tape that projects the film onto your TV. Okay, so on the VHS, that intro to Miramax, right, and it'd show off, new from Miramax, because Miramax in 92 to 99 was king.
Yes.
New to Miramax, and then Reservoir Dogs was released at that point in time, and I was like, I've never seen that movie, and I wasn't into Quentin then. I had no idea. I think I'm as much of a Quentin Tarantino fan now because of you. It's because I was like, oh yeah, I liked Reservoir Dogs a lot, and you were like, you liked Reservoir Dogs? Well, guess what you need to watch now?
oh hell yeah!
What was the next one? What was
Jackie
the next
Brown.
One? Dude,
Jackie
I got a
Brown.
friend from middle school, and it was the same thing. It was like, oh my gosh, you've seen Reservoir Dogs? Jackie Brown was the next movie I showed him.
Damn right.
That's what Randy did to me. He goes, you got to watch Jackie Brown.
And they
Yep.
both hit so hard. But I think that Gene, you and I, we had watched Pulp Fiction beforehand. Yeah,
I watched Pulp Fiction before Jackie Brown.
Well, before Reservoir Dogs even.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure. We were
could be
because I
right.
think we watched it when it was fresh. Of course, we were way too young to be
Oh
watching
my
this
gosh!
stuff.
I
Absolutely.
think I started saying that when I was rewatching this
Yeah.
just the other. I've watched it with Oliver since, but he's 17, so it's
Right.
like it's fine, But
Yeah.
it's
It's
just
that our demographic now, but
it's just crazy. It was just like, how was I like 11 years old watching this movie?
Well, and
Oh.
there's a lot of violence, of course. There's a lot of blood, a little racy language. So we've got
Yes.
there's some stuff in there, obviously, but other than that, it's not like it's all inappropriate.
but it wouldn't be our podcast if we didn't have to say, hey, by the way, this is the time and the place. That language was going to be here. This is a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Well,
this is what
sure.
you're going to get. So, spoiler alert: if you don't like that spicy language, maybe Reservoir Dogs not very much to you.
Might not be your cup of tea, but yeah, we talked about that with the Warriors too.
Right.
different time, and also portraying characters of a different walk of life.
Yes.
That sort of thing. So
Okay, I'm gonna. This is where I'm gonna have a come to Jesus sort of very old man moment. I'm gonna be honest with you two. I'm getting squeamish in my old age.
Are you
I
really?
wanted to ask you guys about that.
I'm getting squeamish in my old age.
Do you feel like watching the torture scene. Did you guys? I don't know. We're jumping around, so I don't want to like.
No,
jump
no,
around
that's
too much.
fine.
But like, just with that, do you feel like it's harder to watch now as an adult? Because I do.
So that's what I wrote down here. I said words and actions for the sake of shock or edginess. It curdles my blood now.
Same. Even certain like language, words, like
Right.
things like that. It's just like, oh,
Well,
ooh.
I watched Hateful Eight again.
Yeah.
Like 2 months ago.
Good old Daisy Dahmer goo.
And just watching everybody beat the shit out of Jennifer Jason Leigh, and I was like, I forgot how
Oh, yeah.
intense that was. And I was like, well, I don't know if I like this anymore.
Yeah, it's a little senseless.
Right.
Sure.
And then I rewatched Death Proof.
God.
And
Yeah.
and the Rose getting just mangled by the car. I get why it's there, but I was like, did we really need to spend 3 minutes of slow-mo of just Rose McGowan just getting tore up like that?
That one, and not that there should be an argument for it, but I just think that that's really the only death shown in the movie. Like
That's
the
very
car
true.
caused.
Yeah.
Really took it out.
So it was like, okay, I'm going to really go overboard with this
On
one.
her, yeah.
And then the rest of the violence was given to, Stuntman Mike.
Right.
So it's like,
Stuntman Mike.
hell yeah.
So the violence in Dogs does not bother me, by the way. The ear cutting scene, all of that. But the language, and I was like, I don't remember it being this crazy.
It's what's fun about the violence part, where they're Officer Nash when they're Mr. Blonde is kicking his ass there for a minute. The thing that got me this time, I don't remember getting me before, but was when he splashes him with the gasoline. And he's got that open wound.
Oh,
yeah.
God, that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, when I was a
In
kid,
my
I
old
was just
age,
like,
I'm getting squeamish now.
same, man. Same.
I'm getting.
It doesn't. I'm not squeamish, but I was like, that would hurt.
It would hurt.
Yeah.
A lot.
Okay, so sorry.
Back to the diner scene. Sorry,
Right.
please go ahead.
No, that's a great
So,
thing. Yeah.
I did want to say, so Eddie Bunker, I guess, was a real criminal. Like,
Yeah.
he's got a record on him.
Yeah, I read that somewhere. Yeah.
And if you look up his Wikipedia page, it's his mugshot. So he, I guess, was saying that he would not have done this heist. He would have been like, I would not have gone to breakfast with everybody in the daylight, and I would not have done any kind of a crime with people I didn't know.
When you think about the diner scene, it is kind of goofy.
I mean,
maybe it
yeah.
should, yeah.
Well, and you got Quentin Brown just railing into Madonna as loud as he possibly can.
I mean, no censor.
And-
Just
and then you have
How many dicks is that?
a lot.
and then you have Steve Buscemi just making a stink over not tipping. Are you
A buck.
Right. Are you sure like that waitress isn't going to recognize him and go, "Oh yeah, these guys came in."
That's that guy that didn't tip.
Right.
Yep.
That's that son of a bitch who got real pissy about how many times I filled up his cup of coffee.
Yes.
6 times he won.
Yeah, 6 times.
Of course. But I do think that's funny we're talking about the diner scene. There was a little bit of foreshadowing about Roth being the rat.
Because he's the one that calls him out.
He
I actually
does.
have that here also. If you feel like there's any other, and if there's any other foreshadowing in the movie. Like there's an orange balloon that floats.
Yeah.
In the movie, and it's like,
where is that?
It's right. Nice guy Eddie is on the phone. He's about to go to the spot. He's
gotta
about
talk
to
to
go
my
to the
dad.
warehouse. Yeah,
I gotta talk to Daddy.
I gotta talk to Daddy all the time. Yeah,
Chris Penn.
Chris Penn
is a treasure.
fantastic, man.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to know if you guys had any thoughts on that. If you watching it now, knowing the ending, knowing how it goes, any foreshadowing, any thoughts on whether or not that it hints to orange in any way?
I don't think the balloon. I don't think so.
It's so random.
It's very subtle, but I also wonder, like, why the hell would there be a balloon in the road? Like,
Exactly.
it's just random, like, while you're shooting.
But the diner for sure.
But the diner, yeah, I mean, Roth, he immediately, calls him out. He's like, I was pink, like, yeah, a little, like, you're a rat.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting, too.
I do too, yeah.
What about you, Do? Anything with the diner?
Let's see. So let's get into a little bit more history of the film. Like, it was wild to me that Tarantino only had $300,000 to make this movie.
Yeah.
Which wasn't unheard of, He was even thinking of shooting in black and white, which means he would have cut the film by half.
Yeah.
Which I think wouldn't have transferred over as much.
Yeah.
No, and at that time, I mean, you really got to go in crazy. I mean, you're talking like, Christopher Nolan or
Right.
Darren Aronofsky, with making Pie, and it's
Yeah.
like, ooh, I wonder if Pie how that would have translated. Like
Right.
if it had been made differently, if he had just a little bit more money. But and I mean, it's still people regard it as a big movie, right? You
Right.
know, as a well-made movie. But with Reservoir Dogs, yeah, I don't think black and white would have worked.
No,
I don't
absolutely not. Absolutely not. So Keitel gets the script. Fun fact with Uncle Do.
Please.
Gets the script third hand
Yeah.
because the Leonard,
Lawrence Bender?
Lawrence Bender, yeah.
the producer on the film,
Yeah.
It's due to him that he got the money.
right.
Because
It was like his
Quentin
sister.
showed him the script.
It was like his sister or his aunt or something was running an acting class, and Harvey Keitel knew the acting teacher and was like, I like this script so much, and they got 1.5 million just because of Harvey Keitel, and that made me think too. And I was like, the fuck was Harvey Keitel in at that time?
I thought about that too because the piano came out in 93.
93, 94, yeah.
Yeah, so
But
it was pre-piano.
Thelma and Louise,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
he did something with
And I know he was a Scorsese guy. You know,
Tony
we all
Scott.
know this.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, Tony Scott. Sure, he had a little bit of clout, but still, it's like just to come in and say, "Hey,
Right.
I raised $1.5 million."
And then
That's a
you know,
lot.
Yeah.
Big Weinstein gives them $1.5 million just because of Harvey Keitel. That threw me off because I was like, Harvey fucking Keitel though. Like all I remember Harvey Keitel pre 91 is from like shitty Bill Cosby movies and like I'm pretty sure he was in a couple of Cassavetes films, and Cassavetes doesn't make any money, you know. So.
No.
But it was still one of those things. It threw me off. It's like 1.5 for Keitel.
Yeah,
like,
it's I mean,
it's
obviously,
a chunk of change. It
back
got
then,
this
for
made,
sure.
you know?
Yeah.
But you were talking about Miramax back in the day, and I agree. That was like, man, Miramax felt underground.
Right.
It was just a cool vibe. I definitely, because of the Crow. The
Right.
Crow being
Yeah.
Miramax. Oh,
Crow,
damn it.
Clerks.
Yes. But I
What
definitely
else at that
remember.
point in time? Shakespeare in Love, also that same time
Shakespeare?
period.
Yeah.
Shakespeare.
Yeah, but obviously the Crow it holds a
Yeah.
very special place. So anything that's like Miramax, it was in the Kevin Smith stuff.
Right.
Got
Got into that
pass.
pretty early. Damn, I mean you hit it on the head. I think that was like because you got Focus Features, or now you got
Right.
Blumhouse, and where they kind of feel underground there for a little bit. I mean, one of the first, it definitely to me felt like Miramax.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
totally right.
I
man.
agree. with that.
Absolutely.
So, Gene, I mean, you're obviously a fan of Quentin Tarantino as a whole. How do you think Reservoir Dogs compares to his later works, in terms of storytelling or filmmaking in general?
I think it holds up. I do. I mean, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is... I mean, it's him at his best, in my opinion.
Ooh, it's good.
But I think that...
Ooh.
Wait, what? Woo, was that a hot take?
I have a hot take.
Tell me.
a
Oh,
hot
okay.
take.
I love a hot take.
Ever since Sally Menke passed,
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't
I made
think
a note
the quality,
about her. I just wanted to
I
make
don't
an
think the
honorable
quality
mention.
of his films have been up to snuff because I think he gets too much into his own ego.
Sure.
And shit that needed to stay on the floor should have stayed on the floor, but because he's got the ego and Sally's not there, because Sally's was with him since Reservoir Dogs, you know, and was that person like. I mean, it's the same thing with Jaws. Jaws wouldn't be as great as it was if it didn't have the. This is going to be sort of misogynistic.
Okay.
When I went to film school, I had this belief that you used a lady to edit your films because they have the better decision making when it comes to scenes and cutting out the fat. And
I could see that, though.
I mean,
it's just like...
there's a ton of data to back that up, Jaws,
Yeah.
and Sally Menke especially.
Quentin's even
for sure.
said that, like, that he gives her a lot of credit on that stuff and just saying, like,
She-
let's do this but not do this, and this is what this needs, and it just adds a certain element,
And so
a certain touch.
She probably was the heart to a lot of it.
Oh, I
Every-
agree.
everything
I'm sure she
post-
brought in a lot.
What is it? Post Bastards, where we don't have Sally anymore. It just feels there's a lot of it that's like this could have been cut.
Are you saying you don't love Once Upon a Time?
So Brandy and I have talked about this before. Once Upon a Time and Licorice Pizza, to me, are love stories to what these directors thought Hollywood was at that time. Mm-hmm. And it's their glorification of that Hollywood. It's their love story to Hollywood at that time. And that's what I like about it. The film as a whole It's not my favorite,
Okay.
but I appreciate it for what it is.
I love it.
love
The whole movie's a vibe.
No,
to
that's
me.
fine.
It is a vibe, man. It is.
I mean, if Sally Menke had been involved, it probably would
would
have
have even
elevated
been even
it.
better.
Yes.
Like, let's be real. Yeah.
But it is crazy to me, dude. Yeah, Bastards, Inglourious Bastards was the last movie that she edited. And, dude, it's so sad. I can't, because she died shortly after that. In
Yeah.
2009 or 10.
I think
Yeah.
it was 2010.
And it's like, dude, she's been gone a long time. And that
Yeah.
is really sad.
It is.
Yeah. So, but I want to, don't want to get too far off
Yeah,
of
sorry.
our guest
Sorry.
here. So, Gene, where does this one rank in heist movies for you?
I am very much a sentimental person. This movie holds sentimental value to
I
me
like that.
because I would be a sentimental reason. But I do think it's a stellar ass movie.
Dude, that's what it's about, though. Like,
So-
movies that just make you feel good
Yeah.
or make you feel something.
I'll throw
right?
this
Yeah.
on in the background, like, if the kids aren't around or whatever. I'll throw this on in the background just
I
for
love
like
it.
Dude,
something to listen to.
But it's, I mean, you're right, though. I mean, it's just got something, and you watch it at a certain age. I mean, dude, we quote this movie all the time.
Oh, we do.
And, I mean, how quotable is this movie?
Funny, my mom didn't even know that we were doing this movie. She quoted it when she came in today, and it was just like, oh, all right.
Which character in Reservoir Dogs do you find the most interesting?
I actually have that question for you guys because
Uh-oh.
I just want to know your guys' favorite character and why, or who you resonate with.
Okay, our
and
favorites.
why.
But so
who
which
do
one?
I find the most interesting?
Yeah.
Probably White, but I also feel like I connect the most with White because he is watching out for Orange so much.
Okay.
He's like it's almost like a father-son dynamic. You know what I mean? Where he's like caring for him and he just wants to make sure that he's okay.
Yeah.
So it's like that nurturingness almost, and I feel like I can really relate to that.
I dig that.
How about you?
Put me on the spot. I really wasn't expecting that question. I think I got to go Pink.
I had a feeling. I was like, I bet you he's going Pink.
yeah,
He's
'cause
just the...
He's no bullshit.
Yep.
And he's like, don't tell me your name. I don't want to know it.
I don't want to
He
know
wants
it. I don't
do
want
the
to be a part
job.
of this. Like, I don't want to be a part of it. Nope, just...
So as far as like, and we're talking crew from the heist, that's who I'm talking about. But I mean,
okay.
Nice Guy Eddie, damn it, he is. I mean, I love that character. And
See,
I love
I'm a
Chris-
daddy. I
Are
love
you
Joe.
really? You're going
Joe,
I
okay.
love Joe. I think everything he's in, he eats up the scenes, and he's just got this presence, and I'm like,
You love Lawrence Tierney?
Well,
I do, yeah.
I made a note about that, dude. As the big boss, he is so believable.
Right.
To me.
Oh, 100%.
Like-
No bullshit. This is how it is. When he's given the names...
He runs a crew.
And he's just like, no, there's somebody else on another job is Mr. Purple. You're Mr. Pink. And it's
Yeah.
just like, I'm not taking your shit.
My favorite is when Chris Penn and Madsen are playing grab ass. Mm-hmm. When Madsen comes out, that whole scene in the office
Yeah.
it's my favorite scene in the whole movie.
It's amazing
Um,
and hilarious.
Right,
Damn it, hilarious.
like Madsen just
I see him sitting
wailing-
there, but I don't believe it.
I know.
just wailing on Chris Penn the entire time.
Yeah.
And Joe's just letting it happen.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love how it's a minute, like 30 seconds in, you can already tell they have this great
Right.
camaraderie together.
And,
it's like,
dude-
oh, okay, these guys are all tight. They like immediately, it's just built like that. Like
What
that's
a-
just good writing.
What a bump it looks like Madsen takes.
Right.
When Eddie like gets him and he in the chair
With
flips
the chair,
over.
he's like holding
Yeah.
himself for a second,
looks
and
like
then
he
it
literally
gives
takes
out.
a bump.
I know.
Well, what's wild to me is Madsen doesn't like violence of any kind.
Right.
He's damn near pacifist.
Yeah.
And so, like, all of these scenes where it's just extreme violence and knowing his history of the films he's been in and the violence that he's caused in those films, you're going, you don't like violence?
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty damn believable, bud. It's a good thing you're an actor. Like,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and Kill Bill also, right? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
he's got a fair amount of violence in that.
Right.
Yeah. But you're talking Mr. White. Actually, I think I might be a little surprised that you're Mr. White.
Who would you say? Well, we still have to go with you. Wait, you said Pink.
Well, he
out
said-
of the heist crew.
Oh, out of the heist. All right.
I'd
let
say
you answer.
Pink
And
as
then we'll
well,
go back
yeah.
to you.
You're going Pink?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know he's just so good. But Mr. White, dude, one of my favorite quotes, just one of those quotable things, stupid things, is psychopath ain't a professional.
I got a question for what's your guys' favorite line in the movie.
Damn it, I love that.
Mr. Brown, that's a little close to Mr. Shit. Dude, it makes me laugh to this day.
My favorite line, I wrote it down.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it's not anything anybody says. It's something overheard. It's fucking Stephen Wright as Kill Billy.
Oh my God.
The
He is
way he
fantastic.
says behemoth.
The Bohemians.
Behemoth.
The bohemoth.
Bohemian?
The bohemoth.
Oh,
It gets me every time, and I'm like,
the Bohemians.
Indeed.
like, really? That was our read?
I
Steve?
love it.
Yeah.
I love
This is where your
Rosemary.
Rosemary goes. Dude, he's fantastic.
And it's always a surprise that he's K. Billy. Like, oh.
Super Sounds of the
Oh
70s.
my
Yeah.
God.
I love how much that's. I love that they reference that. I love it. I love it so much. I love that that's what leads into Steeler's Wheel. But not to bounce around, but that can kind of lead into the soundtrack, which
Oh man.
is a huge reason why I love this movie.
I remember you and Mom geeked the hell out over this soundtrack.
Hard, man.
Well-
and it had not. It for me, it was specifically Little Green Bag, George Baker selection, and
yeah.
Joe Tex. I Gotcha, without question,
that
dude.
funky
I
bass line,
bought-
man.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
this is a running habit for us here at Movie Marks because we always think the music is on the mark. And for the first time in a movie of ours, we don't have a score. It's just the music.
Yeah.
Which makes the movie that much better because you're in that tense scene where Orange is screaming his head off, and then they get into the giant whatever the factory, the warehouse that
warehouse,
they are. And there's no music. It's just pink, white, and orange, and that's all you hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then also, we talked about Steelers Wheels as well. Steelers Wheels, happens. Madsen walks out the door.
Music stops.
Music stops.
It's
Rose
wonderful.
gets the
love
gas,
it.
comes back in. Boom, you back
Yeah,
in it.
I
So-
love it too, man.
Fun fact with Sister Jean.
Ah.
So he wanted that song immediately. Like he wanted that song, knew it was going to be in the soundtrack, like didn't care what else for that ear scene. He wanted that. So they ended up talking about it. They wanted $13,000 for that song specifically. So he wanted that
Used up
song,
most
got that
of
song for the
most
entire
of the
soundtrack.
music
And then I
budget.
heard that he was going to work with doing some sort of getting a soundtrack label. Or a soundtrack made with a label to like earn money for it or
Yeah.
whatever.
And
so
that's how they end up. But do you know what the alternate was if we didn't get Steelers Wheel?
oh, tell me.
I read it. I forgot it. What is it?
Ballroom Blitz.
Yes,
by
that's the one.
Sweet.
Which, dude,
How the hell could you do Ballroom Blitz?
I love this.
Dude, that
man.
movie is.
I
Oh, that
do
song
love
is
the
fun as
Sweet,
hell.
but
That song is
I
fun as hell.
can't see.
But if he did the sweet, he should have done Little Willie. That
Right.
would have been the one. Anyway.
Right. But like, I don't see Ballroom Blitz.
Same.
No, it
we
doesn't
also
work.
don't know it. It does not work the same.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. And Madsen, I think this was in that QT8 documentary. Him talking about dancing, like he's just doing that like on a whim, like
Right.
it wasn't like talked about. He's just kind of going with it.
Dude, it's just cool.
So it
just works.
I love it so much.
So let's say that, Gene, if this didn't have, the soundtrack that it does.
This is the
but
first soundtrack I ever bought.
How
I
does
loved it.
the soundtrack contribute to the overall experience? And if they had done a score instead of the soundtrack, would the movie feel different to you?
100%.
Would you?
It would.
Do you think you'd still like the movie?
I think I would still like the movie. I don't know if I would like that movie as much.
Okay.
Because, I mean, Little Green Bag, when they're walking out of the diner and it's just like
what
the
a
credits. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
You already know you're into something good. And then you go
Yeah.
into Tim Roth in the back of the car and he's just
Yeah.
wailing. And it's just like, what are you doing? Where are you going? What is happening? Like, I'm invested. So, I mean, the soundtrack is stellar. I think that. Again, would it still be a good movie? Yes, because it's it's good writing, it's good directing, it's good everything. But that soundtrack slams.
It works,
ass.
and dude, I know you and I both agree on a lot of the Tarantino soundtrack choices.
Oh,
yeah. David Bowie, Cat People,
Right.
In
Yeah.
Yeah. And dude, it just worked. I mean, it makes that whole scene better.
Well, because I wasn't a Berlin Bowie guy, and so when Cat People played, I was like, maybe I need to revisit Bowie in the '80s in Berlin.
Yeah.
Like, yesterday.
I mean, Inglourious Bastards is fantastic anyway,
Right.
but you get that cat people going, I'm like, it's like, ooh, what a scene, man.
But like, you're absolutely right, Gina. I wouldn't give some of these songs 2 seconds if they weren't in this movie because they're so good, and that's what made the movie for us, you know.
Yeah, but then you go to like a Pulp Fiction, and the soundtrack just has a totally different feel.
Absolutely,
it's got some of those surfer tracks, and it's like, man, this is cool. It's just, but it's a different vibe. And then obviously Jackie Brown, he obviously just continuously just went that route where he just picks these banging soundtracks. But I think he would pick the music as he's writing the movie.
I think I've heard him say that too.
There's that track at the end of the Pulp Fiction soundtrack on the CD.
Yeah.
That it's like a 20-minute conversation with Quentin Tarantino, and I think he talks about that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, it just obviously makes sense.
I remember that.
Dude, he just vibes into the soundtrack as he's writing the movie, which I love.
One thing that is fun that I do love about a good little Quentin universe is that there's connected characters.
Yeah.
Like Vic Vega and Vincent Vega. And then also Mr. White, when he's doing his interview with Joe, like when he's in Joe's office, he talks about Alabama, which is like a True Romance reference, which is very cool, which I think is fun.
Well, and the big plan was to interconnect all of that. It just, there wasn't, time gets away from everybody, and True Romance wasn't exactly what Quentin wanted, and so he's like, well, we would have had a Vega True Romance sort of crossover, but True Romance could have been a lot better, and so that, and the Vega brothers unfortunately got shelved as well because our boys got a little bit older
after a certain point, so.
So, bringing it back to movie marks, is there anything in this movie, Gina, that doesn't hit the mark for you?
Talked about the language and stuff. I mean, that's kind of like, as far as not hitting the mark, I mean, it's not like a 100% movie. It's not like, oh man, nothing I would change about this movie. But it's definitely, it's rewatchable, which that to me is like a number one. Is this a good movie? Would I watch this again? Do I want to watch this again? And the answer is a solid ass yes.
We Kirks are rewatchers.
We are rewatchers big time.
Found that quite funny that this is one of your background movies. Like,
I'll put this on in the background.
That's so good.
Dude,
it's the music.
If you're cooking dinner, washing dishes, whatever you want to listen to it.
Anything misses the mark for you?
I don't have a whole lot of miss marks. I didn't write any notes, and I can't really think of any.
I feel so bad for saying this, but like poor Roth's dialect coach.
Oh,
yeah.
He doesn't miss a mark for me, but you can hear his accent coming through in quite a few times.
No,
I do get
agree.
what you're saying.
But dude, what a
that was a great call on the dialect coach.
Yeah,
because it does slip up quite a bit.
It's like Mitch in Dazed and Confused.
Oh, it's the
touching
nose.
his fucking nose every time.
Mitchy. Yeah,
He'll slip up, and I'm like, oh, it's almost good. It's almost.
Almost.
It's almost perfect.
Almost.
And I feel bad. I really do. And I think that's why I'm less inclined to orange because of all of that. But
I wouldn't be an orange guy anyway.
Same.
Right.
But you speaking of him, of Orange speaking, the scene where he's working on the story.
Yeah.
The commode story.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I was going to
God.
ask you about that.
Man, just brilliant editing. Go back to Sally Mankey on that one. But just how it transitions from where he's like literally reading off of a script to when he's explaining it in the bar.
Yeah.
It's like.
And then they go into the story of, like, they go into his vision of the story that never really happened, but you're just envisioning this story.
It's
just, he's talking to, what is his name? The guy, the Hathaway guy, what's his name in the movie?
It's hard.
Hardaway.
Yeah.
Holdaway.
Holdaway.
So what did I say?
His actor's name is Randy Brooks. Character Holdaway.
Okay.
So,
when Tim Roth is telling Holdaway the story, he's telling him when he's in front of that graffiti wall.
Yeah.
And then they're in the bar and he's telling everybody. And then they're showing the shots in his mind of the story. Dude, it is awesome.
I love it.
It is awesome. Editing, perfection.
Motherfucker, I'm trying to watch The Lost Boys.
The Lost Boys.
It's so good. So,
Because who's not? At that time, who's not trying to watch The Lost Boys?
Dude,
I mean, come on.
I know we were.
I know, man.
Almost watched it this past weekend, but
You turned right, you did.
If we were given an opportunity to ask Quentin Tarantino one question about Reservoir Dogs, what would it be? Do you have one? Do you have one?
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I do.
I feel like I would hate. I get nervous about questions with celebrities, with like famous people, because like, how many times have you been asked these questions?
Yeah.
You guys are great about it when you go to cons
I'd ask him
and stuff.
what
but
his one regret would be.
Really,
that he
a
didn't get
regret.
to do.
I'm thinking what he would change.
Right.
So I guess it's like along the same. Like,
Yeah.
if given like because. So I've heard him talk about possibly doing this as a play, and I would maybe like, hey, okay, so if you do this on a stage, like for a stage performance, what are you going to change? What are the things in your mind that you're immediately like, this is the first thing I want to change, and then I want to do this differently? Like, would you do an all-female cast, or would you do this?
It's funny you say that. Is
the
reason why we don't see the heist in the film is because he wanted it sort of like Glenn Ross, where you don't see, you just get this.
Well, it adds to the imagination.
Right.
You know, it's like, what really went down? They're talking about Mr.
Yeah.
Blonde going off like a madman.
Right.
What did it look like?
Yeah.
I
Right.
wonder, what was that scene? And, you know, it plays up in your mind, and you have all this other shit that's going on. You got Orange bloodied and shot up in the back of a
how
car.
did that happen?
And then you've got Pink on the run. You
Well,
know,
and White goes, "You almost got me."
yeah. And so, I mean,
Brown's dead. We don't know what happened to Blue.
plenty of
You
other
know?
exciting visuals to watch. So, shit, what did we miss with this heist?
Right.
Yeah.
So, I think it was a really smart move on his part not to include the heist, because
Right.
it might have actually taken away from it.
Which is incredible, because it's a heist movie. You don't even ever see it.
It's no heat.
I love it. It's no heat. It's very different than heat.
Right. This is like.
But,
Well,
yes.
sure, Heat
Although
being the number
Heat
one
would be
heist
so
movie.
much fun.
Right.
Oh, Heat
Then
is...
Ocean's 11.
Oh, dude. Are you going OG? Ocean's 11? Or are you going...
I'm going New Oceans.
Okay. But with Orange getting shot, just a note here about that they kept a paramedic on set to monitor like the blood throughout the movie.
So that it
was realistic.
Wow.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool because, you know, as a viewer, you know, we're watching it being like, he's lost a lot of blood, you know.
I think there's a pool of it right at the end of the ramp.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, when everything's going down with the cop, when
But,
everything's going down with Marvin Nash.
apparently there was a paramedic on set.
I love that you just said his name, Marvin Nash, but because I wrote this down, Quentin Tarantino hates the name Marvin. Because everybody named Marvin.
Which is funny because he goes, I bet you're a big Lee Marvin fan, aren't you?
Right.
Hey.
Everybody named Marvin in a Tarantino usually gets the shit either beat out of him or killed.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow. And
So-
then, go ahead.
Oh, no.
No, please. You're the guest.
So, Tarantino, and I don't think it necessarily happens in this movie at all, but Tarantino he's obviously a fan of violence in his movies,
Yeah.
but he has a way of making it funny at times.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
So, is there anything in this movie that you found funny that you maybe shouldn't have found funny? I don't know if this movie really qualifies for that, because, like, Pulp Fiction, Travolta shoots Marvin in the face. Oh, I shot Marvin in the face. Like, that's not funny. That shouldn't be funny. But it's funny in the moment.
I mean, it's intentionally funny when,
my God.
when Mr. Blonde talks into the ear.
Yeah,
He cuts
like
off
that.
Marvin's ear.
The can in Once Upon a Time, the can of beans.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That whole last 20 minutes
Right.
of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
It
Yeah.
is so violent, and there is,
Filmmaking
like,
at its finest.
it is
But the
funny.
can of
Leo DiCaprio vibing out in the pool.
In the pool.
Sees the girl on fire.
Just cannot, dude.
He's in
Can of beans.
In his element, like,
Leo,
just...
perfect reaction. We should put that scene on later.
Absolutely, we should.
Nothing better than that.
Kills me
So-
every time.
It's wonderful. Damn it.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, I think Mr. Blonde talking into the ear that
Yeah.
he just cut off. That's funny, right? But it's supposed to be funny. So unintentionally,
I don't know if there's any in this movie. I was just
No.
going to ask you guys, because I didn't pick up
I
on
think
any.
that's something he goes for as he
progresses, yeah.
I think there is some speculation as to really like how Mr. Brown dies, though, because when we see him, he crashes into that car, but
Yeah.
he's already bloodied up.
Yes.
And we see it, and it's like, is he already shot? Did he get that way because of that little car accident, the little scuffle that he just got into? You know, so I think that there's some speculation as to why did Mr. Brown die?
Right.
So it's interesting. And Blue, we don't ever hear from Blue.
We don't
Never
ever
know.
Poor Blue.
And also,
Poor Blue.
Brown and
My boy
Blue
Blue.
are the only two that we get no backstory on.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I do love how it's almost like a book. Like
Right.
it reads like a book where it's
Yeah.
like, here, we're going to go into Mr. White, where it's like, we're going to get this backstory on it, but then we're going to go right back into the story that
And
we
I think
know.
to a point that's Tarantino, but going back to my point, I think that's Mankey. And the
Oh,
way she
I
cut.
feel that.
sure, but also, I mean, dude, I don't know if it's due to the low budget, but this movie feels just so authentic.
Right.
You know, I believe every character
I have
and
such a soft spot for it, but sometimes, like, even with bands, most of the time, a favorite is like a first album. It's like
Right.
they're at their rawest, and it's
They got
just
something
like
to prove.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like you didn't have a huge budget, you didn't have a name behind you, like your own name. Like, well,
Yeah.
I'm Tarantino, so I'm gonna do what the hell I want. But he still was just like, I'm gonna do what I want.
Well, and
this
it was
is how I
his.
want. Because
It was his,
Weinstein
too.
like wanted him to cut the ear scene out. He was
Right.
like, you're gonna lose like a good chunk of Weinstein thought that you were gonna lose the lady audience. Like he's like, you're gonna lose like a good chunk of your audience just because there's a torture scene in here.
yeah.
So but he's like, this is what I want. This is how it's gonna be. This is my movie. This is what I want. So it's like,
And I
for him, man.
appreciate and respect sticking to your guns.
I love
you know?
it. I love it. I love it. Just you're not who you are today, but back then, just even knowing like I have an idea and this is what I like and this is what I want.
Well, especially when you've got that kind of pressure, where it's like you're an indie filmmaker,
Yeah.
you've got nothing to your name, and you're fighting studio executives about being like, I'm going to keep this
You know
in
what's
here.
keeping this
That's
wild
balls.
to me?
It is.
You know what's wild to me about this film is it got little to no traction in the U.S., right?
Right.
It went over to the U.K., and they ate it up with a spoon. They consider it like one of the best movies of all time.
Well, I mean, by and large, I think they're smarter than we are. So,
They've also it also inspired tons of UK filmmakers because of it. We saw a whole
probably including a young Christopher Nolan, I'm sure.
right,
So-
like we saw a whole group of British directors come out after Tarantino. Just, I mean, would we have Snatch or any of that? I mean, yeah,
Memento, or something. You know,
Memento, and yeah,
because Memento probably attributes to Pulp Fiction with
Right.
the non-linear. I guess this is also non-linear.
right.
Tarantino kills it at that.
He
And
does.
so it's just wild to me that it went to the UK. It's a bigger deal in the UK, and then it came back.
Yeah.
And then it got even like the UK was like, we're going to take the one sheets, and each character is going to get a different color with their one sheets. That wasn't a USA thing.
Not till later, because they
Right.
did that with the DVDs.
Right.
And we bought, I think, of course, I had to get two. You got two,
I got two. He got two. My mom
Right.
got one. We got all five that they put out.
Because my mom, the only one she cares about is Mr. Blonde.
Oh,
The only
God, does she have a thing
one
for
that I
Madsen
bought
in
was
that
the
movie?
gas can super special edition.
That's
that's
dude.
that's a get, dude. That
Yeah.
is a get.
That was a great set.
Yeah.
I'm jealous that I never got it.
Yeah, the gas can, like, I was like, okay, the colors are fine. I love the colors.
Yeah.
They're all the same, but the gas can was special.
For sure.
You still got yours? You still got your two?
I don't think so, because
Really?
Tiff, my wife Tiff, for Christmas like 12 years ago, she got me the Tarantino blue box set.
Yeah.
The Tarantino XX, the 20, and it's perfect. So I was like, I don't need it anymore.
I don't need 'em.
Yeah. So, but Gene, I think I've just got maybe a few other questions, but
Do you have any
just sorta-
questions for us?
well,
no,
yeah.
I've kind of been asking him along the way here.
Do you have any more?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head here.
So, but I've just got a few fun facts before we, close out here and all that stuff. But Orange's apartment, air quotes, it was actually upstairs above the warehouse.
Yeah.
I think
Oh.
that's crazy.
That's a
'Cause
fun
obviously
fact.
to save money.
Yeah.
It
It was-
reminds me of Robert Rodriguez. We've got the location. Let's use it.
Let's
Right.
use it to.
We're renting this space already.
Right.
Yeah.
Why the hell
Why
not?
spend
you
more
know?
money?
So they dressed it up as
They
an
got some.
apartment.
He's got Silver Surfer and stuff up on the wall, which is
I
a
bet
lovely
you
little
geeked
do.
the hell out.
I
Yeah.
did.
Motherfucker looks just like the thing.
I absolutely thought it was hilarious that half of the clothes that are being worn are their
own clothes.
suits.
Yeah.
But the other half, like, they made some deal with some costume designer,
Yeah.
so that they could have these suits for free or
Well,
whatnot.
I think Harvey Keitel's was his own.
Right.
Because he had some designer suit made.
Madsen had like 3 different.
Right. And
piecemeal
You talked about the
together.
boots.
The boots. I
Yeah.
heard that Madsen's he didn't have shoes that fit, or that. So, anyways, that's why he's in boots. Is
And
He's
because
always in boots.
That's what he had.
He had black jeans.
jeans.
Yeah.
Buscemi did, which I mean, it was a cool look. It made him kind of individual, while
Yeah.
still, and believable too.
Yeah.
Because with Joe, it's like, hey, you got to wear black suits with white shirts or wear black ties. It's like they're not all going to be wearing the same
They're criminals.
things.
They're professional criminals.
and
so
the
they're going to
ones
wear what
that
they
stand
got.
Psychopath
out.
and a professional.
The ones that stand out are all different from everybody else, and the ones that don't make it are the ones that stick to their gut. Like Orange.
Yeah.
Orange is just straight whatever Joe said to wear, that's
Yeah.
how he wore it. Everybody else who, kind of got out of it wore it a little bit different.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only other fun fact that I had is Robert Kurtzman. He did the makeup effects for this movie, and he did them for free. And it was a
Wow.
favor because they wanted Tarantino to write the script for From Dusk Till Dawn,
Mm-hmm.
which also ties into the Miramax discussion because
Right.
From Dusk Till Dawn being a Dimension film, and don't get me started on From Dusk Till Dawn. I love this movie so much. But also Tarantino, he gets his foot fetish shit in there with Salma Hayek. He literally writes
He
that
wrote
character
that
It's
in
like,
there.
Oh, feet, foot. Who said foot?
Sure, I'll take it.
But
Every
suck on
time now. Every fucking time. I'm watching a Tarantino movie and I'm like, oh, Jesus. Did we really? 10 minutes on Margot Robbie's foot. Great. Fantastic.
only one that ever made sense was Kill Bill.
Right.
Wiggle the big toe. It
Wiggle
makes
your
sense.
big toe.
Yeah, it's fun. It made sense, but also too many toes on screen. Come
Right.
on, man. So, Uncle Do, I don't know if you got anything else.
I
was just gonna.
We hit our
ask-
marks on movie marks because this movie.
Did you guys have a favorite line?
Ooh, as far as the line, there's so many better lines than this. But you put me on the spot here. When White asks Blonde, when they're about to go out to the car, and he's like, "Well, you got to get your French fries to go with the soda." I don't know why. It just stands out to me. It's
Yes.
just stupid, and they're obviously pissed at each other anyway.
Yeah.
There are way better lines that I'm going to kick myself
Nope.
after this recording.
No,
That's
that's
okay.
a good one.
It is.
It gets me
Because
every
it's
time.
smart assy and it's on the spot, so I like it.
It's such a Keitel line too.
Yeah.
It is too, because I mean, obviously he's pissed off at him because he's like, "Where the hell were you?" And you show up with the soda pop, a big Kahuna.
Cool as a
soda
cucumber.
pop.
Yes, which again, back to the Tarantino universe.
Yep.
Dude, you remember that big Kahuna shirt I used to have?
Yes, I do. You don't have it anymore?
No, I wish.
We gotta find you one.
Oh,
We'll
I
find you one.
need it. You got a favorite line, dude?
I told you the Stephen Wright.
Oh yes,
yeah,
you
yeah.
did. Okay, perfect.
Behemoth.
We do
Behemoth.
quote this movie quite a bit.
Yeah.
Where's the commode in his dungeon?
I gotta take a
We
squirt.
do. We do. I'm hungry. Let's get a taco.
Dude, I'm hungry. Let's get a taco.
These are great lines.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a definite quotable movie.
It's so quotable.
Motherfucker.
But
I don't watch The Lost Boys.
so I guess just the last question for you,
Okay.
Gene, our valued guest, is where would Reservoir Dogs rank on your all-time favorites list?
Ooh, I
That's a
would
good
put it in a
question.
top 20. Again, there's some
Oh,
sentimental in there. There's definitely
Yeah.
sentimental in there. I had seen Desperado beforehand, but this was my first Tarantino, and I felt like this was a movie that really made me want to appreciate movies more, and it made me look at movies in a different way.
It's gritty filmmaking.
It is, and it's just very well done, in my opinion. I remember I'm on the couch in the living room when I saw this movie. Like, I remember the feeling I had after I watched it. You know what I mean? Like, this movie really meant something to me. I was just like, what did I just watch? You're completely thrown for a loop. You feel bad for Orange, especially at a freaking 11, I'm like, 11! You know what that's from?
Yes.
He knows.
Hell yeah, you do.
Call
Which
it
is
back
a-
to 2 episodes
Yep,
ago.
that's right. I thought about that so much because I say that a lot. Anyways, but like watching this movie at a young age, I'm like, you're feeling for Orange, like, oh my gosh, dude, he's
Yeah.
shot. I hope he doesn't die. And then it's like, you rat. You did that to them. Like, how dare you? White love, like, he's trying to care for you so much. Even as an adult, I feel like I would be like, but as a kid, I'm like, oh my goodness. So I would probably put
I think
maybe 25 would be my lowest, but I would definitely put this movie in my top 25 for sure, without question.
Yeah.
Because
No.
it means a lot to me.
It does. I mean, it just ranks. And dude, talking about that gritty ass filmmaking, I think about Tarantino.
Well, that's our generation, right?
Yes.
Like
but-
this we see what this generation's movies, right? It's all packaged. It's all at hand
Yeah.
immediately. It's what this generation is, and like you look at movies of our generation, it's these gritty It's these taking a chance. It's this. How did this ever get fucking made? Sort of situation.
Yeah, gone are the days of El Mariachi and Reservoir Dogs. I mean,
A24's trying, but it's the only.
Right, they're trying with their digital effects and shit like that.
Yeah,
though, it's like it's not the same.
It's the only boat in the harbor right now, though. When it comes to art house films.
You do get some horror movies out there where they really do try with the practical effects, and you've got your Terrifiers out there and things like that are really gunning for the practical stuff and kind of going back to the nitty gritty filmmaking. So I think there's a little bit of life left in that genre, and I hope they revive it a little bit more. But yeah, back then, I mean, you could just tell that, man, these dudes are hungry.
Yeah.
Robert Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino, man, they had something to prove.
Right.
And what about you guys? Same question to you. Where does this rank on your all-time faves?
All-time faves? It's a little less because my catalog, it runneth deep. my catalog is a little strange and a little deep. So
I get it. But I think also mine, it would easily make the top 25, maybe even the top 20.
I like that.
Because I mean, my top 25 might actually include 3 Tarantinos. So it's like this one, it might be in there, but damn, he's so good.
Yeah,
He is.
So hey, Gene, thank you so much.
Yes, before we end, I want to thank you guys so much. This means so much.
Good.
It's been great hanging with you fellas. You guys both mean
you were
the world to
so
me.
nervous about coming
I
on
love you
here.
both
You had
so
the best
much.
time.
We
This was
love
a
you.
great episode.
This was wonderful.
We thank
I
you
love you guys.
so much
Seriously,
for
it
coming.
means so much that you're here. Love you, and just thank you for everything. And do where can they find us?
Well, you can catch us on our socials. We've got our threads. We're on Instagram. Check us from where you get most of your fantastic podcasts, especially Spotify. Keep listening, please, and shoot us some lines. We'd love to hear where this ranks in your top
Yes,
whatever
I'd
movie.
be very curious to see what other people think of
We'll
it.
hit that on the socials. Just we'll drop it a line and just say, hey, where does Reservoir Dogs rank on your list?
Yes,
Look
also,
for Movie Marks podcast.
Comment with your favorite line of the movie. That would be a lot of fun.
Favorite lines. I love it. Yeah.
Behemoth.
The
Behemoth. But yeah, we've got the link tree out there. So literally, if you're looking for us on any platform, just hit the link tree and you'll find us there.
We're going to be a little bit more active on our socials. Sorry that we haven't, but we're having a lot of fun. Big shout out to Rand for the fantastic artwork.
Yes.
Every episode.
And that intro music. Spot on.
Oh, come on, guys. Thank you.
But yeah. So thank you guys both again.
Yeah,
Thank
we are
you.
having a blast. And next time you're in town, I don't know, you're always welcome on this cast.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
We were talking about maybe doing some heavyweights.
Oh, snap. I love a heavyweight.
Uncle Dude's favorite Seth Rogen movie.
It is absolutely.
Yes, it is.
Hell yeah. Well, hey, thank you for listening, everybody. We appreciate every single one of you every week. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Gene, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.